Good morning, or perhaps a good afternoon to you. My name is Mark de Vries. I work at Lan Handling, and I would like to welcome you at this webinar, where today we have Mart from the world famous company Multivac.
Yep.
Good morning, Mart.
Good morning, Mark.
So what are you going to tell us today? What kind of interesting topic do you have for us?
Well, today I'd like to take you on a journey into sustainable packaging with Multivac. Multivac is a well-known company for its packaging machines, but we also have a very good view on the developments, mainly into sustainable packaging. So I'd like to take you on a journey today into sustainable packaging.
Okay, so let's start the journey
Yeah,
then.
let's start. Let's kick and ride. So this is the short agenda that I have prepared. Let's go through it, and we'll start with a little bit of Multivac to explain to you what company we are and what we do, and we end with all the different concepts that we have available for packaging, especially meat and fresh produce.
Okay, interesting.
Yep. But first, let's start with Multivac. Multivac is a big company. We started in a shed about 60 years ago, and we've now ended up as a company having about 7,000 employees globally. We have about 2,500 people available in our factory in the south of Germany. We do about 1.5 billion on turnover, wow. And we manufacture roughly about 1,300 fully automatic packaging machines every year.
Is it still privately owned, Mart?
It is still a family-owned company. So we are a company which is owned by three families, but they have no decision-making process anymore within the company, but it's still a family-driven company. So we have no other shareholders than the family itself.
Very good.
Yep. We have about 13 different production sites throughout the world, mainly situated in Europe, but we also have production sites available in the US and in Asia for the domestic markets over there. Then I would like to take you onto the trends that we see in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. We see a big growth in digitalization. We also see that many companies would like to buy from one single source supplier to support the whole line. And also some big developments on sustainability. And that is where I would like to take you on today to tell you more about the backgrounds and the developments, especially on sustainability. So sustainability is seen throughout the process. So in the complete supply chain of manufacturing products for the supermarkets, you see that sustainability is a growing factor and a more important factor in every decision making. We as a machine supplier see that in the manufacturing of machines and also in the use of the packaging material. And especially the use of packaging material is a focus point within the retail market, but also in a European level. On a more global approach, where people are more focusing on sustainability and the use of plastics within the packaging. To be able to develop all these different kind of solutions, we think it's very important to be very close to the customer and also to be very close to the retailer. So what we have done as Multivac in the last few years is we have invested over 20 million into a new development center, the application center, where we have a big team, experienced team, who is close to the customer, who can support and talk and challenge the customers with different packaging technology that we have available, and to check that with the specific requirements of the customers to come up with a solution.
If I understand correctly, so there you do not only present yourself as a specialist for the machine builder side, but for the complete solution. So you have specialists on cardboard, you have specialists on plastics or other types of materials.
And we also have people who are specialists in the food manufacturing. So they can also support, because sometimes you see that the type of food should be adjusted to the type of packaging that they like, because it's not always a perfect match.
With the barriers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes there is a small change of recipe required in a product to be able to improve shelf life even more. Yeah. So from that perspective, we have different specialists who can challenge and talk with the customers and see what the best solution is for them.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And we think that is very important to be in contact with our customer. So for every product segment in our company, we have a application center. So we have one in the north, in Enge, where we do marketing and labeling. We have one in the south, where we do portioning of meat. We have one in the center close to Frankfurt, where we have a company where we do bakery equipment. And there we have, which is called the World of Bakery, where there are all kind of different production lines to produce bread, and people can come and prepare their own recipes. So we think that it's very important to be very close to the customer to develop all different kind of solutions.
I think that sounds logical, yeah?
Yeah. So, but Mark, that's enough about Multivac. Let's talk about sustainability.
Yep.
So this is basically the dream of everybody who's looking into sustainability, into recycling. What we see in this specific sheet is that there is a big volume of products that are being used, that are being recycled and going back into the stream as a, let's say, a new product made out of used material. But again, this is a dream.
Reality is not that far
reality
yet.
is unfortunately not there yet. There's quite a bit of hurdles that we come across before achieving this result. One of the things that we see is the difference in regulations. So you see that in different countries there's a different view on what is able to be recycled. So, for example, in Germany, mono-PET materials are considered not recyclable, whereas in Holland there is a focus on using mono materials.
So even in the European Union, you see two neighboring countries having different regulations.
Different regulations. Also, for example, in Australia, they see that flexible packaging materials, so the flexible packaging where we buy different kind of products in, is considered not recyclable. Whereas in, for example, in Europe, there's a focus to go to thinner materials to get more flexible materials.
Yeah.
So for many producers of food, there's a big challenge in how to cope with the different countries, even within Europe.
Yeah.
There's quite a big gap between what is standard in one country is absolutely a no-go in another country.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of...
So you have the regional regulations and the regional producers, which are perhaps a little bit smaller scale, but you have also the bigger global key accounts who have to take this into account as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a challenge.
Yeah. That's a very big challenge. Yeah. But that's not the only challenge. On top of that, there is something which is called the EU plastic tax, a tax that should be paid for using plastic within your company. The problem in there is that within the European Union, there's no real guideline who should pay that and what amount should be paid. So for some countries, the producers should pay. In other countries, it's the taxpayers that are paying. Even the amounts differ from country to country. So you can imagine if you are a food producer and you supply to 7 different countries, you have to cope with all these different kind of regulations and point of taxes. So there's quite a big hurdle for many of the food manufacturers to cope with all these different kind of hurdles that come across.
I understand. And indirectly it also influences you as a supplier of the machine dealing with that product.
Yeah, because sometimes if you look at, for example, manufacturers of food, they used to use one packaging material or one pack design to sell across Europe or even across the globe. But now you see that even from retailer to retailer, they have different demands on what the packaging should look like. So from an investment point of view, from a supplier or a manufacturer of food equipment, we need to offer a machine which is more flexible to cope with all different kinds of requirements that the retailers or countries have. So if you want to buy a line to pack a certain product, it needs to be able to cope with all these different kinds of packaging requirements from their customers. So that mainly means you have to invest more. You need to have more flexibility. So that's quite a challenge, I must say.
I start to understand the topic now better, yes. Thank you.
But still, the main focus that we have as a manufacturer of packaging machine is to preserve the product, because maintaining shelf life is still the main important issue that all retailers have. To be able to have the product as long as possible on the shelf, to be able to sell them, to maintain the quality of the product. There's different solutions available, but still plastic is still very important. But you have to be very careful in how to use your plastic. So there's no bad plastic, but there's how to use smart the plastic that is available.
I saw some time ago somebody using the word safe, but then with an F, so that it is secure and healthy and remains healthy, shelf life, but also safe with a V, that you do not have waste of precious food products. So there's a double meaning.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as Multivac, we still think that is the most important thing to do, to maintain the shelf life of the product. But we are teaming up with different suppliers. We're teaming up with different parties to talk with them and to hear from them what is the current trend, what is smart to do, what is not smart to do, what are the trends. And within that group, we try to make the right developments for our customers to make sure that they get the machines that they need.
Understand. Yeah. Okay, Mart. So the partners you mentioned, though, they are visible here in this house.
Yeah. So where we have partners on materials that we team up with. We have partners which are, let's say, a collaboration with different groups of people who watch the trends. So, and then we have ourselves, of course, with our own development, and we try to find all the good parts of these together and combine that in good solutions, sustainable solutions for our customers.
Yeah, understand.
Yep. Let's talk about the different solutions that we have to offer, because in the end, that is basically what this is about, the different solutions that are available in sustainability. And basically, there are three main groups, main areas that we focus on. The first one is the reduction of the material, so use less material. The second one is to use more recyclable materials. And the third one is to use materials that are biodegradable.
Okay.
So those are the three main groups that we have, and in each and every group there's different possibilities that I would like to go into further detail with you. So if we look, for example, into the reduction of packaging material, there are three things that we can offer there. One thing that we do more and more, and which has basically now become a standard over the last few years, is to use more profile in the packaging, but still remaining a very rigid pack. So by adding profiles to the pack in its design, you can use less plastics, but still have a very stiff carrier of your product.
Right. So to still have some mechanical stability and protection.
Exactly. Yeah. Material reductions up to 20-30% are very realistic in this case.
Those are big numbers.
Yeah. Also, using different kind of forming techniques enable people to use less plastics, because you can spread the plastic better by forming the product, which also gives you, as you can see, savings up to 20%.
So you make it thinner, so to reduce material. You change the shape, also to reduce the material.
Yeah.
But one of the key elements is creating smart profiles to still maintain
the stability,
the quality and the look and the mechanical stability. I understand.
Exactly. So for the consumer, they don't see any difference in how they experience the pack, but the producer uses less plastic, which is good for the environment, but also from a cost point of view, because 20% or 30% less material is also a cost saver.
Sure.
Yeah. So they're only winners. One example is a customer from us in Finland, Atria, who has changed from a rigid tray packing tray to pack their meatloaf into a flexible pack where they reduced the complete amount of material by 65%.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are big numbers.
And perception by consumers, is that a challenge? Do they have a different perception of the product, or is that difficult to say?
That is what people were afraid of, but by using smart marketing, as you can see, the presentation of the two packs is completely different from each other, and the marketing plays a very big role in it, because now they have done a market survey, and the brand has built a better name by using this pack.
So it was also an opportunity for them.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting case. Yeah. Talking about cases, there's of course also a lot of things that we do together.
Yeah.
It's
nice
not only
that you show an example.
Yeah. So we have there are many lines in the market where we complete each other.
Yep.
So where the primary packing is happening with Multivac, and then the end of line packing is handled by Lan,
Yep.
which is a proven solution, which is also very important for our customers, of course, that there are no difficulties in integration and things like that, but that they can buy a proven solution.
And we appreciate this partnership because it brings both of us and our customers a good level of success.
Exactly, and that's the main goal, to have satisfied customers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another example is a sliced meat packaging, where they came from a rigid tray onto a flexible packaging, saving up to 84% on packaging material, which is immense.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But now I can understand that you need those specialists, because if you reduce the thickness, if you reduce all kinds of things,
Yeah.
then you have to understand what is the influence on the quality or impact on the product.
Yeah, on the
inside.
exactly. Especially on the machine mechanics, so the things within the machine. There is a lot of focus on developing this because in the end we want to have our customers to have a very reliable packaging. But to move away from standard to something new is always a challenge. And so that's why we think, again, why it is so important to test everything. That's why we have invested 20 million into a complete new area where we can test these things together with our customers.
No.
But it's not only the packaging, it's also the marketing. What we see now currently these days is a lot of carton sleeves where packs are moved into to do the marketing of the pack. And that is seen as very environmental friendly because it's carton. But still, it's carton and not paper. So even there, we can make a step by switching from a carton sleeve onto a full wrap label. So the presentation is identical, but the use of material is reduced by almost 40%.
Yeah, because I can imagine that you can also think, okay, the outside sleeve, as you mentioned,
Yep.
It doesn't really have a function for the packaging. It's more for a marketing perspective.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for declaration of ingredients
so
and things
it's
like that. Yeah.
A double type of packaging.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So even there are options for manufacturers to reduce on materials. So let's move on to the next subject, which is fiber-based materials, also known as carton or paper. We see these days a trend growing. Here are some examples of developments that really happened over the last 2-3 years, initiated by the agreement of retailers that they have to reduce the amount of packaging by 25% in 2025, and that 100% of the packaging material should be recyclable. So that is an achievement or a goal of all the retailers in Europe that they have signed up to.
So that's really a pull from the
That
retailers.
is a pull, yeah. So there needs to be development in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
These developments are done. So together with a partner of us, we have developed a formable paper. So you can make a pack out of carton which has a shape formed out of a real,
blank. Okay.
out of a real flat surface. We can make a deep pack. Also flat packing, you see that these days, especially in the meat, with the barbecue season coming up, or maybe we're even with this weather in the middle of it, you see big chunks of meat for the barbecue being packed on fixed carton trays.
And even the layer on top of the paper, where you would expect that the meat will start to connect with the paper,
Yep.
there is no plastics or other coatings in there.
No, it's again, you need to have plastics in order to maintain a certain shelf life because papers are always
Open,
They have an open structure, but the reduction of material is almost 80%. So there's just a very thin layer of plastic on top of the carton, and there is a skin pack over the flesh. Also, from a presenting point of view, there's a big plus for producers. So we see that trend coming more and more. Also, complete trays that are made on thermoforming, where we have a ready carton tray where we basically laminate the flexible film in. I've got a short video explaining how that works.
Okay, interesting.
Let's have a look.
Yeah. But this also answers my question before, I see. Yeah.
So these are the type of trays that I'm talking about. Here you see that the trays are moved into the machine, and you see that the laminating film is on top of the trays. Where the trays move in, there is a carrier system which basically pick up the carton pre-made trays and put them into the forming station of the thermoformer. We see that happening here. So here we see the carrier system picking up the trays and moving the trays inside the machine into the forming station. The forming station closes and laminates the film into the tray to be able to have a plastic barrier on the tray.
So where in the past you just would put a lid on top, now you do it 2 stages.
Yeah, yeah. And then you have a carton tray with a plastic liner inside of it, which you can fill like this, and then you can seal it. Very traditional with MAP, and then the packs come out of the machine.
I see the usual very clean, hygienic design of your machines.
That is something
impressive.
which is a standard with Multivac.
Yeah, always very impressive.
Yeah.
Nice.
So here you see the packs moving out of the machine. Also on tray sealing, so where you have a already made pack, there are solutions available with ready trays to be tray sealed. The latest developments that we have is a wooden sheet. So that's really high end, where you have a wooden sheet where there's a very thin liner laminated on it, where you pack, let's say, local products mainly for the high-end market.
Yeah, the artisanal niche market products, I understand.
Exactly, exactly. Here you see a short view of how it works. So you have the tray, which can be a standard carton, but also a corrugated carton, which is similar to boxes, to give it a different view, basically, in the shelves, where we laminate then the plastic in, and then we seal it. Yeah. Then we go to the mono materials. So those are called mono materials because they consist of only one material. The main driver there is PET, mono PETs. But mono PETs have a difficulty with sealability, especially when you work in protein. You see many of our customers struggling to get the right materials to be able to go to still seal the packs securely using mono materials, because everybody within the market of packaging know that mono materials and protein, they don't really like each other. But there are still developments going on, very good developments. We have now developed a material which is called PET+, a material which is basically developed to go through protein products and to make sure that you have a very stable and close seal.
And I assume you developed this material together with one of your co-partners in the industry.
Yeah. That is the things that we can do, because we have that innovation center, we have the machines available, which enables them to make a development on the material side, which we can then test on, let's say, real life situation, but controlled. Here we see other examples of different materials which are mono, mainly PET or PP materials. PP especially for products that go into the microwave.
Also a big market.
Exactly. These can be done on thermoforming as well as on tray sealing using ready packs. But we see kind of a development moving away from tray sealers to thermoformers because of the reduction of materials.
Yeah, I understand.
Last but not least, we have the renewable materials, which we don't really see in Western Europe. The main reason for these so-called bioplastics are that they look very similar to plastic. So when you would have a pack like that and you would open it, you would think, as a consumer, as a regular consumer, you would think this is plastic and you will put it into the plastic recycling bin. But then it starts to biodegrade, and then it really messes up the complete recycle stream of the plastics.
So it's the challenge of end customer or consumer perception.
So they need to be taught what is biodegradable and what is not. And because we have such a good recycling system in Western Europe, these bioplastics are not really going into the food industry. You see that in countries where there's a not so well organized waste handling, there you see that biodegradable is a big solution, because if you cannot pick it up from the houses and recycle it, then it goes into the street. And if it's biodegradable, then within a certain time, it goes instead of having all those plastic bags that you see next to the cars.
Yeah. I think people who have visited some countries in Asia will recognize all these plastic bags in the environment.
Yeah. So for these applications, bioplastics are a very good solution.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see also that bioplastics, they don't have a really good barrier. So for shelf life extension, they are not the best solutions to pick. So we mainly see them used at packaging where shelf life is not really an issue. So for example, in soft fruits, we see a little bit of biodegradable packaging. But then again, in Western Europe, it's very minimum.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That surprises me a little bit. Yeah.
This is the outlook. So this is looking forward to the future. What do we see? We see an increased number of packaging, sustainable packaging materials because of the push, as you called it, from the retailers that they need to have a solution by 2025. So you see that there will be more developments coming up. We also see more taxes and fees coming up to also steer that development. So if you don't follow the rules, you're getting punished. Mm-hmm. Chemical recycling, so to be able to loosen different materials of plastic from each other, to move a little bit away from the mono materials, is something that will slow down because of the chemical use of it. We will try, as you saw, to try to reduce the amount of materials, which will be an ongoing development, to reduce, so you don't have to recycle as much as previously.
Yeah, very clear. I understand.
So that was a little bit of my story. To just recap, so we have many different sustainable packaging solutions that we can offer. We try to find alternatives for plastics. Well, one thing which can be a plus can be a minus in other things. So many manufacturers of food materials should think about the pluses and the minus. And also we try together develop with our customer, as mentioned. We have to wait and see how the different laws and regulations evolve over time within the European Union, and maybe even over in a more global approach. And well, we keep on supporting our customers and in the development of the different packaging requirements that they have.
Yeah, that's very well understood.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mart. What I really like about your story is that you do not see this as a, let's say, a restriction or a problem, but you see this as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And you would like to develop this together with your customers.
Yeah.
So, well, good luck. I wish you,
thank you.
Good luck with these interesting developments. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to know more, you can always contact Mart at Multivac, or you can contact Lan Handling Technologies, so we can give you a little bit more of information about your needs or your requirements. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a very good end or remainder of the day.